Hello, welcome to another video from Ethan and Drew's music review. Today I'll be reviewing Frank Ocean's Channel Orange because I've listened to a lot of Frank Ocean's other stuff, but not as much Channel Orange. I've listened to a few songs, but I really think that it would be good for a review because I'm familiar with some of his other music, but not really this one. So I'm going to be doing an album review today because I think it would be I don't know. I feel like an album review would be more fun, and yeah, I'll have more stuff to talk about. So I'm going to listen right now and come back to tell you what I think about it. So I just finished the first track, Start, which is actually only 46 seconds long. It's just the intro to the album, and it kind of has some radio static and just kind of like not ambient noises, but kind of like background noises, like some muffling and stuff. And then at the end of it, there's no lyrics or talking or anything. At the end of it, it's kind of it has this video game startup noise and like some combat kind of fighting game sound effects. So I'll see if it transitions into the next song, or like how it kind of fits in comparison to the rest of the album. So I just listened to Thinkin Bout You, which is the first song on the album, and I really like it. I think it was one of his more popular songs before Blonde was released, which is the album I'm more familiar with. I really like the drums on it. Like it kind of has a like it fades out kind of slowly, which I like, and it has a whole continuing kind of watery synth line in the background, which I definitely like because it's pretty much throughout the whole track, and it definitely keeps you. It's very smooth, and I like his range of pitches throughout the song. It reminds me a lot of Daniel Caesar, how he can kind of go from kind of like talking singing to like he can use his really high voice, and that sounds really nice. And yeah, so I like that track, and now I'm going to be listening to Fertilizer. I thought it was pretty interesting. I've never heard this song before, called Fertilizer, and it started out with, it sounded like you were flicking through radio stations. Like you could hear like people talking for a second in another one and another song, like for half a second. It doesn't like it's only 40 seconds long, the song. So it's like a snippet kind of, but it doesn't seem really like any other Frank Ocean songs that I've heard. It's like old fashioned. It kind of, I don't know. It's strange that it's not radio static over it the whole time. It's not very high quality sound, and you can kind of feel that that's from like a radio, played on the radio. But it is weird. It doesn't really have many lyrics. But yeah, it's weird. I'm not really. It's strange to have like an intro track that's not really a song, and then the song Thinkin Bout You, and then Fertilizer afterwards. It's kind of like a skit in between. I'm not really used to that, but I think it's interesting, and I don't know how that's going to fit into the album, but I'll see that. Now I'm going to be listening to the song Sierra Leone. Okay, I really like that track. He's definitely swaying more to the storytelling side, which I don't think he really does much on Blonde. I mean, like vivid, specific storytelling. Blonde is more like kind of ideas, like more abstract than this. It's hard to explain, but he's just talking about like growing up and living, or like moving out of his parents' home, and then kind of telling a story about having and raising a kid. And I think that's interesting because it kind of might indicate it's a good place at the beginning of an album, be like the beginning of life, because he kind of talks about his like what he does for his baby, his newborn baby. Um, and it's the fourth track out of 17. So I like that song. I definitely like. He still did the. There was another instance of the drums kind of going like in "Thinkin Bout You." Just fading out, I think, is really cool. It definitely it has a nice guitar backing the whole time. I really like that song. So on to the next one called "Sweet Life." All right. I think that song is definitely my favorite so far. I really liked it. It really, I think it just brought me into like it's one of those songs that can really spark your imagination. It really makes me feel like I'm in California on the beach, living a sweet life. Uh, it's I don't know if it's kind of a continuation of the story that he was trying to tell before in Sierra Leone with like the birth of a baby or his baby or something, or maybe himself. It's from the perspective of somebody else. Um, it says you've had a landscaper and you've had a house cleaner, a landscaper since you've been born. So it's kind of telling the story of somebody living quite the life of luxury and not really having any worries. Um, I don't know. It's really nice. I like the I don't know if it's a bass solo or guitar kind of chill guitar solo at the end. Um, oh, I see that it's co-written by Pharrell Williams, which definitely makes sense. Um, I like Pharrell Williams, and it definitely makes sense how he could have. It seems like his style of singing and everything. Uh, yeah, the guitar at the end, for like the outro of the song was really nice. Kind of plucking guitar, and yeah, the song overall had really nice pacing. It definitely had. It went high to low to high to low. I'm not really sure with the exact musical terms of it, but if there was the refrain and then the I don't know, it went up and down with the energy of the music, and I really like that because it gives you anticipation for the build up, and then he just seems really passionate about his music, and I really love his voice. Definitely similar singing style, I guess, to Blonde. Yeah, I like it. So now it's on to the next song, Not Just Money, which would make sense because, well, it has a similar theme, I would assume, to Sweet Life, which was about living a lavish life with lots of money. So yeah, Not Just Money is the next song, only a minute long. So yeah. This is another one of those songs, or not songs, just a track that is. It sounds like a recording of a radio station at first. I guess that's a recurring theme that it just sounds like you're flipping through a radio station and then you come to the song. Um, but this is just another scene. Actually, it sounds like a mother lecturing her son about. I expected it to be like that money doesn't buy everything. That was like not just money. There's other things in life too, but it kind of had the contrary tone. She was talking about like, oh, it's not just money. It's like the difference between having nothing and having a home. It's like money is important. It's not just money. It'll like it can save your life and give you like important things. And the reason I say that it sounded like a mom like talking to her son or a child or something, um, is because she said it's the difference between you going to prom or not, and it's like sounds like a personal story to someone. And she's like, I don't have enough money to pay for that. I have $7. I can barely pay for the food I have. So, uh, different from what I expected. Another, not song, but just another scene. Um, so yeah, on to the next song of Super Rich Kids. Again, I assume following the theme of money. I've heard this song before, but I'm not familiar with the whole thing. I don't know what the tone of it's like. I really like that song. I've I've listened to a lot of Earl Sweatshirt, who was the feature on the song before, um, and I like his other music. I thought his verse was really nice on this. They both. I like when songs and artists and their features on a song have very similar themes, like they're talking about the same exact stuff. Um, this song was very much still about being rich and like actually the downsides that come with it. It's talking about how these super rich kids are kind of neglected by their parents and are like, raised by the nannies that they have around the house. It talks about the drug problems that can come with it, the what those people, super rich kids, are doing just kind of to feel something, to feel loved, and like because they don't really feel it from their parents. Um, I thought I don't. There's not very much to directly relate to in these songs about like having tons of money, but it still does paint a very vivid picture of the struggles that those people still encounter with like different kind of problems. Um, but yeah, I really like this song, and again, the outro of it is another one of those like flicking through radio stations, um, as opposed to the beginning, which was in one of the previous songs. So it is an interesting way to uh, flip through the album. It's kind of it does make more sense to me now, I guess, now that I've listened to it more. It's just like you're flipping through the radio stations and you come from one song to another on the album. I was kind of confused with it before because it didn't really seem like a smooth transition, but now I understand that it's not really supposed to be. Um, I thought the beat on this, the instrumental of this song is definitely more basic than the other songs. It kind of has just a repeating piano going like dun 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 dun, um, and with like just changing the tone of that. Uh, it's definitely different than the other songs I've listened to so far, which have more of like a grand. There's been violin and kind of longer, more drawn out synths and guitar and piano. This is it fits because there's a rapper on this track, but yeah, definitely different than the other ones, but still fitting the theme. I do like this song, but I still would say that Sweet Life is my favorite. I really like the melody that he has on that song. So now we're just going to be moving on to the next song called Pilot Jones. Alright, so I just listened to Pilot Jones. It continues the theme of drug use, and this definitely paints it in more of a severe light. It's talking about being a dealer and a stoner and trying to get people off of drugs and it being like kind of fruitless. Um, Smoking stones in abandoned homes, definitely not glorifying it as much as Super Rich Kids did. Even though Super Rich Kids was still kind of, it was like saying how kind of showing how much fun people were having, the kids were having on the drugs and what they got from it. But this is more, I guess, from an outsider perspective of what it looks like. Um, I didn't like this song as much. I feel like it was a bit harsher. Like the notes, he did try to hit some high notes that I feel didn't work as well as in some of his other songs. Um, there were sound effects of like planes taking off and like pilots talking to each other, which matches the title. But at the end of the track, there's 30 seconds of like a plane taking off kind of sound effect, and I don't know how that will transition into the next song, but I'll see. The next song after Pilot Jones is called Crack Rock. So it looks like this run of songs is more into the, well, I haven't listened to the song yet, but by the title, it seems like from Super Rich Kids to Pilot Jones to Crack Rock might be more of a drug theme, transitioned from the beginning theme of kind of birth and being young in the beginning, and that kind of transitions in Super Rich Kids to like how people are growing up, and like what choices they make and where that'll bring them. So next song, this is Crack Rock, which is 3 minutes long. So yeah. So that was Crack Rock. It's definitely one of the more traditionally rhythmic songs so far in the album, and continues the theme of drug use and addiction and the problems that people are facing. It's smoking stones in abandoned homes, which is similar to one of the lines that was in Pilot Jones, I think, right before it. But definitely continues that theme. At the end, it's kind of talking about running from the cops and gunshots and all the, like, when everything kind of starts crumbling down from the crack use. But yeah, it's how's the gutter doing? It's just very negative, kind of honestly miserable lyrics over a constantly very normal, just a normal drum line and some, I don't know what kind of piano is, but a very like gospel-y kind of church synth in the background, kind of like I like how he still in this album uses very like small things you can barely hear. You have to really be listening to it. But at the beginning of the song, you can barely hear. I think it's the like a fire ignite, which definitely goes with the theme of the song. But I know he does that a lot on Blonde. Just like you have to really be just purely listening to the song to completely to experience everything that the song is. So I like that song. One of my favorites so far. And the next is Pyramids, which I am familiar with. I have listened to a few times and I really like. So is it a long song though? So we'll see this. So I just wanted to pause it halfway through so I can get all I wanted to out from the first half. There's a very like a smooth transition like at the middle of the song. It feels like two separate songs when you hear it, but if you're reading the lyrics, you can see that it still continues the same story. It's just kind of a beat switch. But the first half, one of my favorite things about this song, I really like this song, is the synths that go. There's like if you really blast it in your headphones, it feels like it's vibrating in your ears. It's really nice. It's a very that's what I recognize most. In this first half, it's it's still another very storytelling driven song talking about the lover of the Queen Cleopatra. Like it's not a modern story at all. It's talking about being in the pyramids and um, taking place in Africa. So talking about Cleopatra from the perspective of her lover, and then kind of a third person perspective after that, of her lover finding out, or like finding her cheating on him, and then her killing, or him killing her. So pretty. It's a very. It seems like mythical storytelling. It's not really realistic with the mentions of serpents and summoning cheetahs and everything. It's a really interesting song, especially if you listen to the lyrics, but not really in the present like the other songs were, with the themes of like playing the radio and going to the beach and doing drugs. Um, it's much more of a, I don't know, if just the subject matter alone can really bring you into another world, despite the harsh, not harsh, like the aggressive, the EDM synths that come a few times. It's I really like that part. But we're only halfway through the song, so I'm gonna listen to the rest now and then review that after. Going through this listen of the second part of the song, I guess I've never really listened to it that close, because I've always I never really listened to it close enough, and I always, I guess, assumed that it was kind of just a continuation of the first part, where it's a strange historical, like, kind of storytelling of the life of Cleopatra, or a queen in Africa around the pyramids. But listening to the second part of the song is kind of making me question my interpretation for the first half a little bit more, because this is, well, I've listened to the second part, but never closely analyzed the lyrics, really. And now I'm kind of understanding that it's much more of a, well, at least this part of the song is again a more modern storytelling, like some of the previous songs, of a, I had to look up the politically correct term for this, but a procurer, of women, and the like the kind of lavish lifestyle that he lives, interacting with women and paying for their things and managing money and having like jewelry and money and champagne for himself, and going to the club. This song is definitely, I guess, still continuing. Not, it's definitely not as heavy on the theme of drug use as some of the previous songs, but still did talk about that a little bit. Um, so yeah, I actually didn't really expect that, because I've never closely listened to the lyrics of the second half. But in regards to the sound of the music, at least the instrumental and his delivery, it's definitely much more ethereal and slow paced than the first half. The first half was more excited and fast, and with the loud synths and the I don't know, and the just like really consistent fast tempo and drums in the first half. It definitely switches up with for the second half, where he's using trumpets and very slow, low, bassy synths throughout seemingly the whole second half. At the end, there's another minute left in the song with no lyrics, and it's just a continuation of the really low, barely moving bass line of the song, kind of still synth. But then there's a short guitar riff, which I like, electric guitar, which hasn't really been used much, I think, on the album. It's been more acoustic, from what I remember. And some kind of... It's definitely a lot slower nearing the end, with like some high-pitched guitar plucking, and then there's a little bit of very muffled speaking or kind of mumbling singing. I'm not sure. At the end of the song, it's not really saying anything that the listener's supposed to hear, but there's some of that at the end. And then the end of the song, the outro, is kind of, it's like a quick, it's reversing the track, like a second of the track, and then replaying it a few times, which I like, and I think probably transition into the next song well, because I feel like if you tried to do that with just like the ending of like this low, like, with the synth, I don't know how smooth that transition would be, but when it's going, like, it has more of like you can kind of feel where it's going. So I really like that song. It was definitely interesting to just sit here listening to it and read all of the lyrics and kind of come to that realization about what it is actually about, at least the second half, where he's referring to a woman, or maybe multiple women, as Cleopatra. It's not really a directly referencing the Queen Cleopatra of Egypt, that actually existed, or it's probably just like a nickname or something, or a stage name or something like that. So yeah, I really like that song. Listening to it closely, I'll definitely hear it a little bit differently whenever I play it again. But yeah, so the next song is Lost. So yeah. I really like this song. It definitely seems like it would fit on an album like Blonde, because it's less storytelling, which I guess it's good to have a mix, but it's more concepts of having trouble loving someone and saying your love is lost, and like the struggles of a relationship, but it doesn't really tell many specifics, or give the listener a timeline of events or a situation that is going on between the two people. I love all of the instrumentals on this album so far. They have many little intricacies to them, and different instruments coming here and there. I couldn't imagine anybody else on these instrumentals than Frank Ocean. They seem very tailored to him, and they just really complement his voice well, and his singing style. So this song, it's definitely a love song, or I guess a loss of love song, but it doesn't really fit with the other tracks as much as I would have expected. There's a little star next to it, meaning that it's one of the more popular songs in the album. But I guess it seems more of like a single or something that would be on Blonde, which is almost all love songs from what I can recall. Not really talking about like living lavishly or money or drugs. This is more of a relationship themed song. I still really liked it overall, but I could see it fitting more on an album like Blonde or being a standalone single. Maybe this is a transition for the album in terms of the theme, because just reading the rest of the track list, it doesn't. I can't really infer them having to do with drugs or money, which like the glorification or the downsides of drugs and money that the other tracks have been around. But the end of Pyramids, as I was talking about, does have to do with not exactly relationships, but men and women, and that kind of seems to be a theme on this song. So maybe that'll be a transition for the other 5 songs that I have left on the album. So yeah, the next song is White featuring John Mayer, who I don't really know much music by. I just know he's a singer and guitar player. All right, so I didn't really expect that. There's no lyrics to that song, but it's also not a scene. It's just an instrumental. Uh, there is a constant thumping bass line in the back, very slow, doom doom doom, for the whole song, which is 1 minute and 16 seconds long. And the John Mayer delivers a very nice, jazzy, soulful guitar for the entire track. Really, I really like it. I didn't expect. Like I clicked on the song and there was just no lyrics available, so I thought that was weird. But then the song was just instrumental. I really like that. I think it was it was very slow, so it kind of might indicate a change in tone or a change in pace for the rest of the album, the last 4 or 5 songs. So I like that. It was not much to say about it because there weren't any lyrics to analyze, but I guess the title White, um, it's a color, which also the channel Orange, and there's the other song Pink Matter, which is track 15. So there's 3 different references in the album on titles alone to color. So that has some uh, repetition, I guess, of that theme. Uh, yeah, so I like that song. The next song is Monks. I really like that song. It's very much a change in pace from White, which was just like a slow instrumental. Monks is very fast paced, loud, lots of instruments for the whole entire song. There's this the the percussion is just constant, like cymbal crashes, and it's just very excited, high energy song. There's like slap bass in the background for a while. The bass line's very nice. Uh, there's a beat it's not exactly a beat switch, but the main instrumental kind of drops, and there's kind of these cosmic synths that it slows down because there's no like fast-paced drums or quick bass line or and the singing slows down a lot, um, and then the quick, fast, loud, complex instrumental resumes right at the end for the outro of the track, which I think is cool to just like for the energy to be really high and then really low, and then the end is just like kind of like a punch of just like the drums are going really quick, and then at the immediate end of the song, the transition is quite different from what we've seen before with either the tracks have kind of faded out or there's been the radio switching channels kind of thing. But this one has that really quick instrumental just abruptly stop with the drums going, and that's the immediately end of the song. I really like that song. I did kind of expect a change in pace because of how really slow the previous track White was, and I'm glad that it delivered very, very well. Forgot to talk about the lyrics. The lyrics definitely are. I do feel a change in the theme for this last 1/3 of the album to just like pure excitement, and just the song is just about like seeking thrills, kind of similar to Super Rich Kids, but not in as much of a depressing kind of a depressing way. It's just like going to mosh pits and skydiving. It's really, the lyrics definitely match the sound of the song, and I like it. It doesn't really line up with any of the other themes of drugs or relationships or men and women, but yeah, I really like the song. So the next song is Bad Religion. I'm definitely seeing a shift in theme of the album in the last third. Before I was kind of saying that the theme of relationships and love would fit more in his other album Blonde than in Channel Orange, from what I'd listened to so far. But now I can recognize it as another, like the third kind of central theme of the album. The beginning mostly being about money, middle kind of being about drugs and money, the middle then transitioning to like drugs and relationships, and then relationships or love. So I'm kind of seeing that it's interesting to see how balanced out and sequenced the three themes are. I know that drugs, money, and love or relationships are very common themes within music, but for this album, it's, when you really listen to it, you can recognize how important they are and how they relate to each other. I mean, how important they are in relation to each other. I mean, because each one, drugs have to do with money, money has to do with relationships, relationships have to do with drugs, and so it's kind of it's a loop, and you can see how each thing ties into each other with different stories that he tells in different songs, and I really think that's interesting. The album's sequence is making, like, the order of the tracks is definitely making a lot of sense to me right now, um, because of those transition of themes. So I haven't even talked about Bad Religion. It's very, the instrumental is much more basic than the much of the others on the album, especially Monks, which was right before, like going from White, which was very slow, low energy, nice jazzy kind of song, to Monks, which was very high paced kind of pop song, and then Bad Religion is kind of just it has it's like made up of three. The instrumental is just an organ, a piano, and string instruments. And to be able to, and he uses his voice just as much as an instrument, with how he can manipulate it to, when he gets that really high pitched, quiet kind of singing, whispery kind of high pitched singing, that I recognize definitely from Blonde. He just integrates it really well with the other instruments of the song to act as a background behind his main singing, which I think is really interesting. And I really like that song. It was a lot slower, definitely a flip back in pace again. But yeah, I hope to be correct in my analysis that the third section of the album is more having to do with relationships. And we'll see with the next song, Pink Matter, featuring André 3000, who is a part of Outkast, which is a rap group. So I'm familiar with some of Outkast's songs, and I guess this will be the third feature, and I'm pretty sure, is it the third of 3 features on the album? 2 of them being rappers, and 1 of them being John Mayer, just playing guitar. Very limited as far as features go. But yeah, so Pink Matter featuring André 3000. Okay, so that was Pink Matter featuring André 3000. I really like that song. That André 3000 verse, or I guess 2 verses maybe, is definitely my favorite on the album so far, for a feature. Frank Ocean really is singing his heart out at the beginning, and then when Andre 3000 comes in, he's a very, very, I don't know, it's not exactly a soft voice. It's just very clear. His words are very clear, and the way that they go with the beat, it kind of drops out for a second when he starts rapping, which gives a real impact for the beginning when he comes in. And I really like his verse. The whole song is kind of talking about, well, at least Andre 3000's verse is talking about loving a woman who he knows is bad for him, like he thinks might be bad for him, but he can't really just stop loving her and continuing that relationship, like how irresistible she is, and he can't really give her up. And Frank is kind of talking about like the importance of women, and the importance of the mind, and kind of asking rhetorical questions, like, well, what are women for, and kind of letting the listener kind of answer that for themselves, like what women can do, and how important they are. definitely a song that's very, again, I noted the the repetition of colors before, how there's a song called White, and then Pink Matter, and then the album's title is Channel Orange. But in this song, he talks about gray and blue and pink, and um, has vivid visual imagery talking about stars and aliens, which is I wasn't really expecting for this. It's like it's I guess a metaphor for something else maybe, or just kind of um, him wanting to spice up his verse with something kind of out there, I guess. Like, what if the sky and the stars are for show and the aliens are watching live from the purple matter? I'm talking about purple. Um, so, like, I guess a lot of rhetorical questions kind of being posed by Frank Ocean. And I really like this song. The beat is, I noticed, especially when Andre was rapping, I can't really remember if this was in Frank's verse too, but again, kind of slap bass, very twangy kind of bass when Andre's rapping. Um, Overall, I'd definitely say the singing from Frank Ocean and rapping from Andre 3000, both of the artists' delivery definitely uh, is is the star of the show over the beat or the instrumental, um, which it's really nice to really see them put their hearts into that delivery. Um, so yeah, there's nothing really notable about the instrumental in comparison, I guess, to the other songs. But at the end, there's another. Yeah, at the end, Andre 3000's verse ends very abruptly with it's pretty much like it just cuts off in the middle of his his sentence. Like he's saying revolver, but it's like revolve, and then it immediately cuts him off. And then just like one of the earlier tracks on the album, I can't remember the name. It does that. It takes a second of the instrumental and then replays it really not at a increased tempo, but just like over and over again. It goes like duh 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 duh, which it's strange that like it seems like unfinished, the recording. Um, but I guess that might make a special transition into the next song, which is Forrest Gump. So I'll be listening to that now. So I just listened to Forrest Gump, and that song is definitely interesting because it is storytelling, and it's pretty uh, sequential storytelling. It's clear this thing to a next, um, but it is pretty much just a direct like retelling of some scenes from the movie Forrest Gump, which I guess it goes with the name, but it doesn't really. It's strange because it doesn't fit at all. Like it's not really. I don't see what else I could interpret from the song because, like, I mean, with trying to tie it to a theme of the album, um, it's I don't know. It's good. It's a good song. I like it, but it's talking about like it's just it gives a clear retelling of Forrest Gump playing football and like running past the end zone, which is obviously a scene from the movie. Um, but there's not really like you can't really. I was gonna try to look for if it tied into the other themes of drugs and money and and love, but I don't know. It's just it only mentions Forrest Gump, the character. You wouldn't hurt a beetle. You're so buff and so strong. Like he's a gentle giant. He's like he's good at running, but it tells the scene of people cheering for him. Go 44, running to the end zone, running past it, uh, saying there's not really much from uh, like a first person perspective except for the end saying like I won't forget you. It's for you, Forrest. Um, so yeah, I don't really know. I guess it doesn't really tie in with the rest of the album. It's the second to last track, so I don't know how that's going to relate to the last track titled "End," which definitely coincides with the beginning track called "Start." So I don't know if that'll be another scene, but this definitely seems like it would make a standalone single or something. I don't know. It fits like the way it sounds. It fits with the rest of the album. It has kind of the church organ in the background. One thing I liked about it is the outro, about like 30 seconds, is just whistling, which I definitely is not seen much, at least on many modern songs. So that's, I guess, a refreshing use of um, the human voice. I guess not really voice, but I don't know. Whistling is interesting on a modern song. So yeah, I like that song, but I can't really see how it would fit into the rest of the album, um, at least subject wise. So now I'll listen to the final song, End. All right, so that was a very interesting conclusion to the album. It it's strangely tied at least one thing up for me, which was the kind of the flipping through radio stations. How that was not a theme, but that happened a few times um, in the scenes and in the songs of the in the album. And it's because the song you could actually barely hear. It's more of a it's I don't know. It's kind of a half and half between a, a a skit and a song, because the beginning it sounds like it'll be a full song, but it kind of fades out into the background and you can hear some people talking over it, but it's still hard to make out what they're saying. um and then there's this constant uh noise in the background, like kind of white noise in the background, that I thought was maybe a fire crackling, but when this it kind of abruptly stopped with the background track, and then the people talking over it abruptly stopped when there was a very vivid, clear sounding opening of a car door, which I didn't really expect. It definitely uh, painted the scene, made the scene a lot clearer for me, because I can imagine these two people talking in a car and then getting out, and then you can hear the white noise is actually a rain on the outside of the car, and it becomes much clearer when the doors open. You can hear uh, a person stepping outside and walking away, and you kind of follow that person into a house, and you can hear them opening and closing a door, and then like they walk into a house, and eventually they turn the radio off, which, and then that's the end of the album. Um, so yeah, that song is interesting. There weren't really. I was reading the lyrics too, it was only giving you the background track lyrics because I couldn't really hear what the people were saying over it, even though it was kind of at equal volumes. Um, the backing track is kind of talking about getting over darker times and two people having difficulties and but still having the world in the palm of their hands because they're young and they have lots of potential in their lives. And then eventually, like, he wrapped the whole wide world in a wedding band, and then put the whole wide world on her hands, uh, which is showing them unite in marriage. So, and that's the end of the song, which kind of gets cut off because of like the door opening, and you don't really notice how muffled the audio of the actual song is until the car door opens and gets much like the sound of the rain outside is much clearer than the actual song. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting uses of sound and manipulation of sound in that song, and volumes changing up and down depending on the focus of the song at first, and then the people talking, and then exiting the car and walking inside, and like that's just its effects of it's not even a song anymore. Then it just sounds like you have a microphone attached to your foot, and you can hear the person like splashing in the rain outside and walking in the door. So yeah, that was a really interesting conclusion to the album. I'm glad that I was able to. Well, I was lucky to pick an album that actually had stuff in it to analyze. I guess I picked up on the themes of wealth and drug use and relationships, and the benefits and the downsides of all of those, and people's experiences in relation to them and how they interact with each other. So I really like that album. I'll definitely be listening to it again in the future sometime. I'm glad that I was, I don't know, able to analyze so much, and there was a wider range of subjects to analyze. And yeah, I don't know, that was a really good album. So I'll see you next time on Ethan and Drew's music review, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you.